I don't know. I should look into it, shouldn't I? How to make GIFs. They are so funny sometimes, aren't they? Hey, viewers. How are you? It's me, Ethan McKinley, and it's episode 32 of the 2-Minute Terminator, where we break down the Terminator films 2 minutes at a time. We're going from minutes 62 to 64, the 2 minutes bridging that gap, and it is bookended by Jason Clarke's John Connor with the exclaiming words, "Sorry, it's true. You sound like a dying cat." And it ends with him saying, "You didn't tell him?" in reference when he goes, "Hey, Dad," to Jai Courtney's Kyle Reese, revealing, of course, that he is the son of both Sarah and Kyle Reese. They weren't married, by the way. She didn't take Kyle Reese's second name. It was Sarah Connor and... Oh, no sisters. It was a... they were unmarried. I think if this happened in the 50s, it would be frowned upon. But we digress. On the other end of the line, I'm going to announce you this time, which I didn't do for the last two episodes, but you need to be punished sometimes. Ellie Fitzgerald, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
My lovely, charming co-host who always gives 60% and then I talk over just like her. So what's going on?
Ethan, hit the music.
Yeah, I think this guy's a couple cans short of a six-pack.
Howdy, stranger.
Don't say howdy, stranger, to me.
Load up.
You didn't do the fourth.
Thank God. It sucked. It was so good.
How, Ellie?
Howdy.
Yes. Hey, how,
What's
Andy
going
Dufresne.
on? I've been watching this particular...
I'd like to think Andy fought the good fight against the sisters that night.
Yes, Ethan's just referencing bumming in prison. Have we done the bookends of the two?
We have, but I'll say them again. It is episode 32 if you've just joined us and skipped over the intro because it's a minute longer music, and I guess you're bored of it after 300 episodes or so. We're going from minutes 62 to 64, the 2 minutes bridging that gap, and it is, of course, bookended, as I said before, with "Sorry, it's true, you sound like a dying cat," as Jason Clarke has to prove to Emilia Clarke, Sarah Connor, that he is in fact who he is, and not a Terminator, even though she doubts him greatly, even though she's never seen the man or has any reference to who he potentially is, because she's not actually given birth to him yet. So why is she reacting that way, as we discussed in episode 31 yesterday? And it ends, of course, with Jason Clarke again saying, "You didn't tell him," in reference to he's just called Kyle Reese Dad, and Kyle Reese just gone, "Huh?" like a dog that's been shown a card trick. If you want to know the... I'm going to start saying what the bumper music is, actually. The background bumper music, which is linked under the show. Some people are annoyed by the fact we play movie soundtracks under the under us talking, because I blow it sometimes, and it's actually louder than what we're saying. I apologise.
Does it actually annoy people?
Huh?
Does it actually annoy people?
Yeah, because I listen back to the shows to make sure they're okay, and some the sound just cocks up for whatever reason. In fact, last week, I apologise, listeners. Episode, is it 30? Ellie's Doctor... Or 29, sorry, last Monday. Ellie's Doctor Strange review.
My mic sounded terrible, didn't it?
No, your mic sounded great after the first... No, the first 5 minutes the mic was great, and then you sounded perfect after 5 minutes, basically. But the thing I first uploaded was all the artwork, all the... the trivia stuff and all the show information that you can peruse through as we talk, listeners. There's a lot of information there for you, all the things we touch on in the show. I actually just posted the background music as the show, and everyone was going, "What's going on? What is this?" So to all the people that complained, I apologise. That was a cock-up. Bing!
We do love a cock-up, though, and we have been missing them out, so...
Well, Ellie certainly does. If you listen to 31, it's not from a human. Anyway.
It's
it is.
Obsession. You're the one that wants to touch horse dick.
My obsession is Terminator Salvation.
And horse dick.
You're...
Talking of horse dick, I saw the biggest penis yesterday on the tube coming home from work, and I'm sorry, but it just...
We'll get to Terminator in a minute.
I still can't stop thinking about it. It was just so big.
Well, you should have made some kind of motion to ask for his number.
I should not have, because he was literally 60 years old, and he was sat there with someone that was quite probably his daughter.
But you have a thing for older men.
I do.
See, in this minute show, folks, we not only cover the film, we actually get an insight into Ellie's sordid past and dirty mind. And that's why I think we have many fans, not because of me, because of my eloquent and lovely radio manner, I think. It's actually Ellie's little black book of dirty. Anyway, we shall put that behind us now. Hey, calm down. I mean, we'll move on from that and talk about the film in question. It is Terminator Genesis. And we go from minute 62 to 64. Ellie's got some notes. I've got some notes. We've already hit the music, so let's get on with the show.
Okay.
Hey.
So we start the particular 2 minutes by Kyle stating that it's got to be John. It's got to be John. And he knows about the photo, and you know he's convinced. I think that's a pretty dumbass move. He's already stated to Sarah that they are infiltration units, that they will use any kind of trick under the sun to convince you that they are indeed human being. What kind of, like, I would want to see if he bleeds. Like, what I wanted to know is, Ethan, if that was you, what kind of test would you give to find out whether he's a Terminator or not?
If I was Kurt Russell, I'd need some blood and a hot needle. However, I'm not Kurt Russell. I don't know. I mean, what else could you do? You could just ask him to tell you things that only you would know. My only issue with this is...
But would you not see if he would bleed? Would you not, like, cut him? If he bleeds, we can kill it.
Yes, you could, but my thing, they've taken, I think, a bit of a nod from the Thing in this. I would have thought if you cut him, he would have blood.
Really? This kind of Terminator, the one that's...
Yeah, this nanobot Terminator, I think he'd be such a perfect copy, you would have blood, but I mean, they kind of, again, I think, derail themselves slightly. And when they shoot him, he has all this kind of like, you see it, it looks a bit like when you're in science class, you had those iron filings on a piece of paper.
Yeah, and you
kind of had the magnet under it,
yeah.
and it looks like that kind of spiky iron filing stuff.
It does. I'd be like Mole Man at the side going, "We beg for blood."
I think any test you could potentially come up with and think of now will be better than what's actually in the film, because he explains to her what it was like growing up, and she used to sing to him, and she likes this music, but if she's not had him yet, and they've never met, how does she... We discussed this in the last episode, so you don't need to go back and download it. There you go, saving some time. Like, there's nothing about this man that she would recognise as a person. Anything short of John, Jai Courtney's Carl Reese showing her a photograph of what her son would look like in the future, but then, as we discussed in the second season of Terminator, how would you get a photograph back through time if you have to go through naked? Exactly.
Through his bum.
Oh dear, you've ruined it.
I went there, soz. But we all... we see Sarah crack a smile. And it's almost scary.
It is.
What do you think of Sarah's smile?
Again, I mean, it keeps coming. We kind of touched on this in the last episode. Like, there's nothing, unless we're both completely wrong, listeners, and maybe you can point this out to us, because there is a dual timeline in this. And she remembers Carl Reese as a boy. Mm-hmm. Because this endless time war has become so skewed now. A lot of the characters remember two timelines. It's not been intonated in this film at all at this point that Sarah knows there are two timelines and would recognise John as her son. Also, the fact that she's only meant to be in this film at 19, I think, or was it 24? When he arrives in 73, this is set in 93. No, this is set in 2017. It was in 1984. So the Terminator has raised her for the last 11 years from the age of 9 or 10. So she's either 19 or 21 in this. So she's not even old enough to have... I mean, what age would she have to have had John Connor at to recognise him as an adult if she's only 21 now? He'd have to be at least in his teens to see the adult in this man, or the boy in this adult face. And she doesn't. She acts like she recognises him, but she's never met him. She's not even had him, and she's not got the dual timeline memories that Carl Reese has.
Or maybe she is, because she's now been through the time displacement unit with John.
Oh, so you think like teleporting their essences or minds or memories of mixed?
Maybe that's how.
Okay.
I literally just thought that up right now.
You be the apologist plot point. I did that all through the last two seasons. But maybe it's this.
Over salvation. I think it's bullshit, Bale. I think you're hot for.
I don't like it.
Yeah, you do.
I don't like Christian Bale.
You do.
I don't. He's one of those actors that you can see the strings. Like you can see him going, "Look, I'm acting."
If he hears you.
What the fuck are you doing? Are you professional? Not actually, no, Christian, I'm not. That's the problem.
Oh, you're very professional when you. My next note was...
You mean I don't get drunk?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, so bad. We can't discuss it because apparently some of the people that work for Seller have been listening to this show and I can't spread shit about work.
One of the people we work with decided to get... This is... I mean, you can tell the story, we just won't say who it is. We did an event for Hermes, the very, like, expensive luxury brand. And one of the people that worked for us decided to get drunk on the shift, was sitting on this swing, which is part of, like, I guess their kind of event performance display. What was he doing? Making out with a chick?
I think there may have been a bit of snogging at his arm around her, as holding her hand, and when the actual client, like, misses...
The person paying for everything.
Hermes goes up to him and says, excuse me, what are you doing? You basically just gave her a load of lip. And back chat.
I'm sorry, that is such a boss move. Why would you fire someone for that? It's fucking... That's Mac Daddy shit, man. That's pimp. Bitch, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, well, it's not very professional, is it?
If only I had the balls to act like that again. I don't know. Not that I've done that, but that used to be me, and I envy that. It's like, well done, sir. You were making out with a hot model on a love swing, and when the woman paying for the party came up to you and went, what are you doing? You just told her to get lost. Or
I hasten to add, it wasn't a hot model on the swing, it was actually an older lady, a party goer, so it wasn't quite
So
that
what?
Mac Daddy.
Well, Mr. Blank, I salute you. I think you're great. Well done.
Well, he's been fired, so... Anyway,
He's not been fired, though, just some working as a subcontractor for your company, right?
He's the best one to work for.
Okay, there we go. That's
He
all
was
right.
complaining about the fact that he wasn't getting enough shifts, but he certainly won't be now. But no, we do miss him. We will miss him because he is one of the best guys that we use.
Well, maybe he can come back in a month.
That's not going to happen.
Just don't have him work for Hermes or Hermes.
No, it's more yeah, no, it's the damage that could potentially...
We have to make an example.
Yeah,
Well, screw you guys. He's the loose cannon detective who gets the job done, but the chief hates him, and you've cast him to the wolves.
He didn't get the job done because he wasn't behind his bar. He was
So he was being a pimp. Come on.
Anyway, back to the 2 minute.
He was slinging some dick. You can't begrudge a man doing that.
Do you think that John knows that he is a Terminator? Sarah asks him how did you get here? And he goes, I have so many questions that I need to ask you. Now that is deflection. He's doing like a typical politician technique, completely avoiding answering her question, which made me initially suspicious.
Well, he's reframing the question. That's what politicians do. They reframe what you've asked to suit their response, doesn't it? So you think you've asked the question. It's like a magician's trick or a mentalist trick where you're getting the answer, but it's not actually the answer you actually asked. They just kind of dallied around and blustered you with some. Yeah, that's the word.
And we also see Arnie going into the kind of security room, and the guys there mesmerised by his phone. Made me think of Ethan actually. And he goes, I need information. And the guy doesn't even look up because you're not meant to be in here. If I heard some Austrian dude from behind me with that kind of booming voice saying, I need information, I would at least turn around, would you not?
Yeah, well, I mean...
And if someone's walking into a restricted area, is that...
I kind of see why they've done it, because, I mean, if it was a proper Terminator or infiltration unit in real life, and you weren't going to kill him, but you put him in some sort of sleeper hold, or knock him out somehow, but he just kicks his chair over into his desk, which must make an ungodly crash. It's not like it's a room you can't see into. It's half the room is glass that you can see into the control room. So he just create a giant noise and creates a giant mess. And would that even knock the guy out in the first place? I always question these kind of movie knockouts because it's just
I always question the fact that in every single movie that has a security guy watching cameras, they are always distracted and never actually looking at the real shit that's going down.
It's always a fat dude.
Yeah, he's always a fat, balding dude eating chips or watching porn or just doing anything but his job.
So you go, yeah, he deserves it. He's not doing his job right, and he's fat. It's just like, whoa, he's
body shaming, babes. Body shaming.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they're playing up to the fact that you can't really hide the fact Arnie. Technically, if we look at it on face value, he is miscast, even though it's iconic. You would never cast him in a million years as the Terminator. And in the original Terminator fans, listeners, you would probably know this anyway, but Lance Henriksen was the first choice for Terminator.
Which then
and that's why a lot of the production art... a robot of another kind, he became Bishop in Aliens.
Very interesting. But I thought he was great as Bishop.
Which, yeah, I think no, he wasn't. Sigourney was Oscar nominated, which is, I think, the first and only time a genre or a science fiction film has been nominated for
Really?
for a performance. I think so, yeah. Because I mean, horror and science fiction is never regarded as anything worthy by, I guess, the Academy, the
Is it
Oscars and
because
stuff,
You're relying
and
more on
pass.
effects and things like that.
The American Motion Picture Association. I think, well, yeah, but I think they always overlook it, and
Well,
I
they
think, yeah, I think I'm pretty much. I think I'm right. I think Sigourney is the only woman to ever get a kind of Oscar nomination based on a performance in a science fiction, fantasy,
Well,
or horror
done,
film.
Sigourney. I salute you, lady.
I think, unless we're discounting Lord of the Rings, but I think for a very long period of time, I still think she's the only one to ever kind of get that accreditation
amazing.
for a performance. So it's strange that Lance Henriksen didn't get one either, because he's the best robot, isn't he?
What do you mean, ever?
I don't know. Is Bishop the best robot ever? Who's the best robot ever?
I'd say Robocop.
Oh yeah,
He's
he's a pretty good
an
robot.
amazing robot. He's Robocop, for God's sake.
So you think that performance is good? Is that
Yeah,
the
I
best
do.
robot? Oh shit, C-3PO as
You've
well.
lost me there.
Well, you know what? I suppose the thing you could link between Bishop, Data, and RoboCop is the Pinocchio story, that they're trying to find their humanity or trying
Like Data
to be
and
more
stuff.
like. Yeah, like well, I just said that, didn't I? I said Data, Bishop, and RoboCop. They're trying to find that humanity inside themselves. I think Data eventually achieves that, doesn't he, with his emotion chip, which I think he gets in Star Trek First Contact when he's wigging out when they're going into the Borg ship, and he goes, "Data, I'm sure this experience is very fascinating for you. Why is Patrick Stewart become Sean Connery? But turn your emotion chip off. And stop hitting your wife." "No, I haven't changed my opinion either." "Well, sometimes you give women the last word,
Question,
and,
Ethan.
well, they just can't let it
When
go."
Pops
Yes.
sees Sarah and Kyle and John escaping into the car park, do you think Pops knows
Yes.
or is aware that John is a Terminator at this stage?
No, but he knows he was meant to go there to break them out. They're no longer in the room. He's got into that room to kind of like look at the security cameras to locate where they actually are, and he can see them leaving with a strange man. Oh, unless, because he is a Terminator, I imagine he would have a file. Actually, you know what? Take it back. He'd have a file on John Connor, his entire history, how to recognize him, and if you see this man, like kill on sight immediately. So I guess every Terminator would have a a kill order and like all the information you possibly
think
could
that
on this man from Skynet. Maybe, yeah. Whether Skynet would have update information in terms of a photograph or what he exactly looked like now would be another thing. I think, I don't know. It would probably have like rudimentary information from before the war, so his social security number and his driver's license or whatnot. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, maybe he just assumes that it looks a bit like John Connor. I'm sure that the Terminator can hypothesize if his learning chip's been switched on a la Terminator 2, and he's a T-850 a la Terminator 3, or to connect it to. I don't know, but that's why he kind of goes after them.
And then at the very end of this 2 minutes,
We
Yeah.
discover, or Jai Courtney
Yeah.
discovers.
it is. It's like Star Wars, finding out that actually. Yeah,
Great movies.
And then Kyle goes, "What?" And Sarah looks at him as if, "You absolute wanker." And then we hear the dun dun dun. Kyle's the dad, and then it stops. It's just like Jeremy Kyle.
I was gonna say in my. Oh, hang on,
You screwed the note.
that's not right. Devon. No, I actually closed the window. I had an actor in mind that I was going to talk about. I was actually going to mention him in the last episode because we see Danny Dyer. Sorry,
Danny Dyson.
Danny Dyson. Is that Yeah, he was Danny Dyson. He plays Danny Dyson. There's an actor playing Danny Dyson actually in this film, but the original actor, who's actually age appropriate now, the actor that played Danny Dyson, Joe Morton's version of Miles Dyson in Terminator 2, his son was played by Devon Dixon. Now, I don't think they were seen in the theatrical version cut of Terminator 2. They were actually in the director's cut and the Skynet edition, where you see Miles Dyson's kids. Apart from the bit where he goes, "Don't you hurt my daddy," that's a little bit more, and the bit with the remote control car. I don't know what I'm talking about. He is actually in the theatrical version of Terminator 2. I take it back. I'm sorry, forget it. Anyway, Devon Dixon played the original Danny Dyson. Now, he is old enough to have played Danny Dyson in this. So I'm not sure why he hasn't. I would, because he's not like he's not working either. He's in like a TV show called The Secret Life of an American Teenager. He was in a TV show called Twinsies in 2014. He's just done a TV movie, Groomzilla. The only thing, and he's actually he's Fletcher, the little kid in The Bodyguard. The only thing I can think of is that his agent simply isn't good enough, because all these things are mostly TV, so maybe he's just got a lower end agent. Because I guess the black actors at the moment were all up for this role. The final two actors for the role of Danny Dyson were John Boyega, of course, that we know from Star Wars The Force Awakens, which Ellie's yet to see, which I'm trying to get her to watch. And he's also in Pacific Rim 2, so he is going to be in a film that Ellie kind of likes, and not Charisma Bypass. In fact, Charlie Hunnam, who's kind of in that, he's like the British Jai Courtney / Sam Worthington, who's in the forthcoming Guy Ritchie King Arthur. He was the guy in Pacific Rim. He's not too bad in that. But what was it? What was that film we watched, Ellie? The Guillermo del Toro film, or you watched it? We watched it separately. Was it? What's that ghost story that Guillermo del Toro did recently? Crimson Peak. Yeah, he was in that, and his American accent was shocking. And what was my review? You've been in showbiz for 22 years, and you still can't do an American accent. And you get multiple takes in movies, so it's not like you didn't have enough goes at it. Jesus.
Yeah. Like,
we did, as we were going into Nando's, and he walked past, and I went, "There's Charlie Hunnam," and you went, "You didn't see him." Okay. Yeah, so John Boyega was up for this role, which he turned down in order to do Star Wars, which I think was the right thing to do. And Dayo, sorry, I'm going to butcher this guy's name now. Mr. Dayo. It probably talks like Star Wars as well. Hello, I put a baby in you last night. I am studying. I am from Nigeria. I am studying English at the University of London. Yeah, Dayo Okeniyi. I'm so sorry, Dayo, if I've messed up your name. I apologise. But this guy's clearly got a better agent. He's in the Hunger Games movies. He plays Thresh. He's in Terminator Genesis, of course. He was in the remake of Endless Love from 2014. But this guy has a much better agent. He's only been in the business since really 2010. He did two shorts, Eyes to See in 2010 and Lions Among Men in 2011. Then he was in the TV movie Prairie Dogs. Then boom, he hits the big time with the Hunger Games. And then he's off and running, basically. Runner he was in as well. He's done an episode of Bones, the remake, as I said, of Endless Love. Huh? He does, but I think that's the difference between Devon Dixon and Dayo. Bizzadale! Mate, I'm going to contact him on Twitter and go, change your name to Bizzadale.
Do it.
Your surname. Yeah, so I think it's just a factor of this Devon Dixon guy just not having the what is it, the clout to kind of be seen for a job like this, which would be nice because they could have tied it back and it would have been a nice boost for his career to play Danny Dyson again. It would have been... Well, it would have linked it to the films. I think they try and distance themselves from the other films, but the only bit that of this film that I like and you like, and I think a lot of people that see it, is the bit in 1984, as it slavishly recreates the 1984 scene. So technically, it ties itself so closely to the original film that it literally remakes the first 20 minutes of it. So why they wouldn't put Devon Dixon in? But hey, that's it, isn't it? It's like Hollywood politics. It's who you know and who you're connected with. By the way, this marks the second time Alan Taylor has worked with an actor who previously portrayed Doctor Who. Matt Smith, of course, plays the T-3000 in this. Now, that note tells me, because you asked before, all right, we talked about it at the last episode, yesterday's episode, what was Matt Smith? Was he Skynet? But he, of course, was the T-3000. So I guess he supplanted all of himself into Jason Clarke's John Connor and took over every cell of his body, or now they are two, and he kind of assimilated him. And Matt Smith is like the T-3000 in the future, and I guess John Connor is the T-3000 here, the one that was sent through time. Anyway, Alan Taylor worked with both him and Christopher Eccleston and his prior blockbuster Thor: The Dark World, which was really good except for the bits on Earth, and they blew it completely with all those elves and those cool outfits. Christopher Eccleston played the lead elf, basically. Not the Will Ferrell one, the evil elf from Thor: The Dark World. So yeah, Alan Taylor's worked with two Doctor Who's.
No, a lady.
Yeah, David Ajala. He's been in... There's someone else I know in Doctor Who as well. Oh, the chick, yeah, one of the Emma... Oh, Jesus. Emma Campbell-Jones, I apologise. She was the Doctor's assistant when Paul McGann played the Doctor. Keep trying to meet for a drink and we keep missing each other. I am trying to... put my sonic screwdriver...
Oh, I see. I see.
When
it's me, it's fine, but when it's you, it's not.
Of course, and I edit the show, so there's no point saying anything. I'll just talk over you.
But once again, it's like...
Well, she was trying, and now me and
they'll
Nick
work it
just
out,
keep
kids.
missing each other, but
But
we're working on it. But yeah, there was talk of her actually becoming doing a proper spin-off with her, because I think the bits I've seen her in, her bits with Paul McGann are actually really good, and she seems a more proactive. No, I'm just saying objectively that I think he was a more proactive assistant and she had more acting chops than some of the other assistants. Oh, her.
Not even
Sophie needs someone to believe in her, like me. So I think without
do.
that, I don't know. She'll feel the burn eventually, don't worry.
She doesn't listen to the
And she does listen to the show, so hello, Sophie. She does. She goes through periods of kind of... It's one of the ex-wives listeners, I apologise. Yeah, if you've listened to all the seasons, you've probably had more of the saga of my life.
But yes, anyway, we've massively digressed. Ethan, do you have any more you want to say about this particular 2 minutes?
No, just once again, I didn't actually... Did I mention the bumper music? I think I did, and then I actually didn't tell you what it was. It's the Nightmare on Elm Street 3 soundtrack, The Dream Warriors, by Angelo Badalamenti.
Shut up!
That's Dokken. That's the pop song that opens the film. The actual score is playing under this. Oh, this fucking show's fun, isn't it? I love it. Yeah, so we'll be back tomorrow with another show. I do apologise if you missed us last week. I was, of course, working for the CNN election campaign, which was weirdly very Hillary-centric. And everyone asked why they were voting for us because she's a woman, and why they weren't voting for Donald because he's a sexist and a racist. When questioned when questioned for them to define what his sexism was, and he was just like, well, they said grab him by the pussy. I was like, I say ridiculous shit like that all the time to my friends. Everyone does. But that's why he's won, folks. I'm not saying it's a good thing. Who knows? I think whoever's in office doesn't actually matter either way. If you look out your window, you'll notice the sky isn't falling and nothing's on fire. Unless you live in South Central. Obama's not in charge anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I think nothing really will change that much. Maybe it'll be a good thing. I think it will show people if the president does have any actual power. It will also show that special interest groups can't bribe this president because he is allegedly, according to him, a millionaire. So who knows? Let's sit this one out and see what happens. It's not my country anyway, so I'll just watch with rapt attention from afar as I keep pumping out shows to entertain you Americans and Indians. We've got, I think most of our listeners are in India, so hello India. We love you. And Pakistan, not to be left out either. I know you guys don't get on sometimes, but you can unite over this podcast. And the way you can unite is by watching the YouTube channel, which is 2 Minute TerMInator. You can actually watch the clips we talk about as we talk about them. Mystery Science Theatre 3K style. If you want to go to the YouTube channel, I've just mentioned that, so ignore it. I mean, the Facebook page, we've got the greatest collection of clips and sound bites and photographs and behind-the-scenes stills and even the Terminator fan sites themselves. And follow us on Twitter because we need the love, because I wasn't hugged enough as a child. Ellie. Wow, a man of few words. Baby.
Watch out for machines.